There is a kind of hunger modern people rarely understand. Not missing lunch, not skipping dinner. Real hunger. The kind that changes how a group thinks. The kind that makes every sound in the forest feel important. The kind that turns a broken bone, a frozen river, or a distant valley into the difference between survival and disappearance. For ancient humans, famine was not an unusual disaster. It was part of life. Plants failed, animals migrated, rivers froze, storms lasted too long. The season that once gave food suddenly gave nothing. And unlike us, they could not wait for trucks, markets, food banks, or emergency supplies. If the land stopped feeding them, they had to survive with their bodies, their tools, their memory, and each other. So the question is not simply, how did ancient humans find food? The deeper question is, how did they survive when food almost disappeared? To understand that, you first have to understand something strange. Starvation was not always caused by an empty stomach. Sometimes ancient humans could eat and still starve. During cold periods of the Ice Age, plants became scarce. Carbohydrates became harder to find. Fat became precious. Hunters might be left with mostly lean meat from animals that were themselves thin, hungry, and exhausted. That sounds like survival. Meat is food. But the human body cannot live forever on lean protein alone. Without enough fat or carbohydrates, the body struggles to process the overload. A person can eat meat, feel full, and still become weak, sick, and eventually die. This is sometimes called protein poisoning or rabbit starvation. So ancient hunger was not just about calories, it was about the right calories. Fat mattered, marrow mattered, organs mattered, the hidden parts of the animal mattered. And this is where ancient humans became much more clever than we often imagine. A modern person might look at a bone and see leftovers. Ancient humans looked at a bone and saw stored energy. Long after the meat was gone, large animal bones still held something valuable. Marrow, rich, fatty, dense, protected inside the hard shaft of the bone. So humans and Neanderthals smashed bones open. Not randomly, not carelessly. Archaeologists have found animal bones broken in deliberate patterns, often while still fresh. These were not just damaged remains. They were evidence of a meal that continued after the obvious food was gone. The outside meat had been eaten, then the bone was cracked. Then the marrow was removed. And in some places, even that was not enough. Because fat can hide deeper. Inside the spongy ends of bones, inside joints, inside fragments that look useless until you heat them. At sites such as Neumark Nord in Germany, researchers have found evidence that Neanderthals processed animal bones with unusual intensity. Large bones were smashed into many small pieces. The richest parts were targeted. Fire and heating stones were nearby. One interpretation is that they were extracting bone grease, a fatty substance released when crushed bone is heated in water. Think about what that means. This was not a desperate bite taken from a scrap. This was food engineering. Crush the bone, heat the water, release the fat, let it rise, collect it, eat it. The animal was not finished when the meat was gone. The carcass still had secrets. And ancient humans learned how to open them. This mattered because famine changes value. In a good season, people can afford to leave things behind. In a bad season, nothing is just waste. A tendon can become cord. A hide can become shelter. A bone can become a tool. A skull can hold fat. A frozen carcass can become tomorrow's survival. Ancient humans did not survive because they were picky. They survived because they knew when not to be. But food was not only extracted, it had to be stretched through time. A successful hunt could feed people today. But what about tomorrow? What about the next snow? What about the child who would still be hungry after the hunters returned empty-handed? Some evidence suggests ancient humans sometimes delayed opening marrow-rich bones. The hard outer bone protected the fatty center, almost like a natural container. No jars, no labels, no freezers. But the idea was powerful. Do not eat everything now. Keep something protected. Save part of today's success for tomorrow's danger. This is one of the first great lessons of famine survival. The future has to be fed too. And this required memory. Ancient humans had to remember which places still produced food when other places failed, where animals crossed in winter, which plants had roots beneath frozen ground, which valley thawed first, which river still held fish, which group might share food. In a world without maps, the map lived inside people, especially inside elders. An older person who remembered a distant food source could be as valuable as a strong hunter. Maybe more valuable. Strength can catch food that is nearby. Memory can find food when nothing nearby remains. This is why movement became survival technology. When the climate changed, humans moved. When herds shifted, humans followed. When one region became impossible, some groups retreated into warmer, more livable places. But migration was not easy. Moving meant carrying children, tools, hides, food, injured people, old people, memories. And it also meant entering land where other humans might already be living. So survival was not only about walking, it was about relationships. Who would let you pass? Who would share? Who owed you a favor? Who could be trusted? This is where famine reveals something important about humans. A lone person could be smart, strong, and skilled, and still die. A group had options. One hunter failed. Another succeeded. One valley froze. Another valley still had roots. One family had meat. Another had knowledge. Sharing turned bad luck into something a group could survive. Food sharing was not just kindness, it was insurance. Give meat today, and maybe someone feeds your child next season. Share a root today, and maybe another group warns you when animals return. Generosity in a world of famine was not weakness. It was survival with a long memory. Of course, not every survival strategy was beautiful. The archaeological record contains evidence that some ancient humans butchered and consumed other humans. Cut marks on bones, marrow fractures, damage similar to animal processing. But this evidence is difficult to interpret. Sometimes it may have been starvation, sometimes violence, sometimes ritual, sometimes something we no longer understand. The point is not that ancient humans were monsters. The point is that famine can push life toward terrible choices. Survival is not always heroic. Sometimes it is ugly. Sometimes it is desperate. Sometimes it is simply not dying today. But the most powerful ancient survival tool was not cannibalism. It was not one magic plant. It was not one perfect spear. It was flexibility. Eat what is available. Move when the land fails. Save what can be saved. Extract what others leave behind. Share when luck is uneven. Remember what the dead taught you. Teach what the young will need. Over time, these habits became culture. People learned how to dry meat, smoke it, freeze it, mix it with fat, gather nuts and seeds, use seasonal roots, meet other groups, exchange stone, hides, food, partners, and knowledge. A landscape became a calendar. A migration route became a memory. A feast became an alliance. A rule became a tradition. And much later, agriculture would turn this fear into something even larger. Grain storage, granaries, temples, taxation, kings, power. Because whoever controls tomorrow's food can influence tomorrow's people. Civilization did not begin because humans stopped fear and hunger. In many ways, civilization began because humans organized that fear. And even today, that ancient fear has not fully left us. We still feel safer when the pantry is full. We buy extra food before storms. We gather around huge meals for weddings, funerals, holidays, and celebrations. We offer food to guests who already said they are not hungry. We feel strange comfort from a stocked kitchen. Most of us are not facing Ice Age famine, but the brain does not forget so easily. For most of human history, food available now was not a small detail. It was survival. So when archaeologists find shattered bones, burned hearths, stored food, or tools carried across great distances, they are not just finding objects, they are finding decisions made against disappearance. A cracked bone says, "We are not finished with this yet." A hearth says, "We stayed alive here." A stored marrow bone says, "Tomorrow matters." A shared meal says, "Your hunger is also my problem." Ancient humans did not defeat famine forever. No one did. They survived it long enough for knowledge, movement, cooperation, and luck to arrive. And maybe that is the deepest lesson. Human survival was never just about strength. It was about remembering, adapting, sharing, and seeing possibility inside things that looked empty. Even a bone, even a frozen valley, even another hungry person. Because in the ancient world, a full stomach was not always enough. Sometimes the body needed fat. Sometimes the group needed a plan. And sometimes humanity survived because someone looked at what others would throw away and realized there was still life hidden inside.